After the CEO got into a car accident and lost his memory, he got the wrong person. Honey, I've missed you so much. Honey, you haven't gotten your daily hugs and kisses yet. Honey, why are you ignoring me? I couldn't take it anymore and shoved the man clinging to me away. Mr. Wilson, I'm a man. Mr. Wilson looked pitiful. A boy wife is still a wife. How could you abandon your husband and child? I'm the CEO's special assistant. For 3 years, I've been a dedicated employee, never missed a single day. I never thought the first time I'd request time off, I'd get an emergency call from the hospital. Sam, Mr. Wilson was in a car accident. Car accident? I was so stunned I almost dropped my phone. Mr. Wilson couldn't be in trouble. He promised me a double salary yesterday. The paperwork just went in, and he hasn't even approved it yet. By the time I rushed to the hospital, Lucas Wilson had just finished his checkup and was being wheeled into his room. I ran up to him anxiously. Mr. Wilson, are you okay? The attending physician, Dr. Owen, answered instead. The driver turned the wheel just in time, so Mr. Wilson wasn't seriously injured. But he did hit his head and has a slight concussion. No other symptoms, but he seems to have some memory problems. Memory problems? I exclaimed. A CEO? A car crash and amnesia? Was he just stacking tropes, or what? Seeing the look on my face, Dr. Owen tried to reassure me. It's temporary. He'll slowly remember things. Don't worry. Are you kidding me? Of course I'm worried. Every day that goes by costs me a ton of money. You'd be panicking too. I tentatively asked Lucas, Mr. Wilson, do you remember me? Under my expectant gaze, Lucas nodded. Tears of gratitude welled up in my eyes. I was just about to remind him not to forget the double salary he'd promised me. Before I could say a word, I saw Lucas get up from the bed and walk straight toward me. I steadied him, confused. Mr. Wilson? Lucas didn't answer. With a pout, he suddenly threw his arms around me. Honey, what took you so long? He was like a sad little puppy, nuzzling my face as he whined. Mr. Wilson, you've got the wrong person. I'm your assistant, Sam. Lucas repeated after me, Sam? I nodded vigorously. Yes, that's my honey's name. Did Lucas get in a car crash? Or did someone brainwash him? After a great deal of effort, I managed to coax Lucas back into bed. I pulled Dr. Owen outside to get the real story. Is it really just amnesia? Are you sure he wasn't implanted with some other memories or something? Dr. Owen was speechless. Sam, we're not filming a TV show. I was losing my mind. He already has amnesia. It's a reasonable suspicion, isn't it? Or maybe he has some kind of gender identity disorder. I mean, come on, I'm a grown man. Can't Lucas see that? Dr. Owen stroked his chin. So when did you two get together? Great, another one's lost it. Seeing my breakdown, Dr. Owen tried to soothe me. It might be memory confusion. He's probably mistaken you for someone else. Whatever the case, just play along for now. Be his honey for a few days. Once his head clears up, everything will be fine. He patted my shoulder as he finished. I pushed his hand away, my face a blank mask. Great advice. Next time, keep it to yourself. As much as I didn't want to, I had to stay and take care of Lucas for the sake of my salary. After all, his entire family was out of the country on vacation, leaving only this workaholic behind. The moment Lucas saw me enter the room, it was as if an invisible tail started wagging behind him. Honey, his voice was syrupy sweet, his eyes glistening like a puppy's. I felt a flush creep up my neck. Mr. Wilson, I said with difficulty, could you please not call me that? I don't know what I said wrong, but Lucas started trembling, looking like he was about to fall apart. Honey, are you leaving me? As he spoke, he cautiously tugged on my sleeve. When I didn't object, he grew bolder, wrapping his arms around my waist and pulling me close. I'll be good. You can't leave me, honey. I was used to seeing Lucas as my silent, stone-faced boss. This new persona was completely disarming. Who on earth managed to capture this Ice King and turn him into this? But I had no choice. For my double salary, for my hefty annual bonus. I gritted my teeth. Of course I won't leave you. Now just let go. That seemed to make Lucas happy. He nuzzled my neck, then obediently released me. The hospital room fell quiet, and the atmosphere became incredibly awkward. I was lucky. I got a job at Wilson Corp right out of college as Lucas's assistant. But it meant being on call 24/7. I had absolutely no time to date, which is why I had no idea how to handle a situation like this. Wait a minute, we're both busy as hell. So when did Lucas have time to start dating someone behind my back? And to be this clingy, they must have just gotten together, right? I mentally scrolled through all the people Lucas had interacted with recently, trying to find his real partner. But Lucas was the kind of guy who wore a scowl all day. He didn't treat anyone differently. Whatever. I'll find out who it is when Lucas gets his memory back. With that thought, I stopped stressing. Whoever pays the bills is the boss. I'll just let Lucas have his way for now. After a day of observation confirmed that Lucas had no other symptoms besides amnesia, I handled his discharge paperwork and took him home. Lucas didn't live in some massive luxury villa like in novels. There was no butler, no army of maids. There was only me, his so-called executive assistant who actually did everything. The apartment complex was new, so not many people had moved in yet, making it feel particularly quiet. Lucas had only moved in recently himself. I'd been here a few times but never went upstairs. So it wasn't until we were at the door that I realized it had a keypad lock, not a fingerprint scanner. My brow twitched. I had a bad feeling about this. Mr. Wilson, do you remember the code for the door? Lucas shook his head, pouting. Honey, why are you calling me Mr. Wilson? It sounds so formal, so distant. What am I supposed to call you? Hubby? Muttering to myself, I typed Lucas's birthday into the keypad, but it showed an error. I tried to reason with him. Mr. Wilson, could you try to remember the code? Or maybe I could take you to one of your other places. But it was like talking to a brick wall. No, I want to live with my honey. I was exhausted. This clinginess was too much. Double pay isn't gonna cut it, I'm going to need triple. Compared to Lucas's sprawling penthouse, my place was incredibly humble. I'm not picky about where I live. Between the constant overtime and business trips, I only sleep at home about half the month anyway. So I was still in the same tiny, 400-square-foot studio I'd rented from the start. It was fine when it was just me, but with Lucas here today, it felt incredibly cramped. Also, a studio apartment only has one room, which meant I'd have to share a bed with Lucas tonight. I scanned his face for any sign of disgust. Surely a rich boy like him couldn't stand this, right? It's not too late to change his mind and go to a hotel. To my surprise, not only did Lucas not seem to mind, but he made himself right at home, claiming the bedroom as his own. Fine, he can have the bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch tonight. I rummaged through my closet and found an unworn shirt for Lucas. I'd bought it online a while back. Turned out to be too big. I was going to return it, but Lucas dragged me on a 2-week business trip. It ended up forgotten in my closet. A size larger than me, it would fit Lucas perfectly. Lucas didn't complain. He took the shirt and went to wash up. I breathed a sigh of relief and grabbed a comforter to make a bed on the couch. Just as I finished, Lucas came out of the bathroom. Honey, did I do something wrong? Why are you sleeping separately from me? I pretended not to hear him and fluffed the comforter again. But Lucas pushed his luck. Honey, we haven't checked in for our daily hugs and kisses yet. Yeah, no thanks. That's terrifying. Even real couples aren't that clingy, are they? Clingy is one thing, but daily hugs and kisses? I imagined the scene and got goosebumps all over. Lucas was still whining. Honey, why are you ignoring me? Finally, I snapped. I shoved Lucas, who was stuck to my side, away. Mr. Wilson, I am a man. The words I'd been holding back were finally out. Surely Lucas would snap out of it now, right? Unexpectedly, Lucas looked hurt. A boy wife is still a wife. How could you abandon your husband and child? Everything went dark for a second. Child? Where's the child? You tell me where the child is. You two even have a child? My eyes widened in disbelief. Lucas corrected me, How can two men have a child? My sharp tone made Lucas sound even more pitiful. Honey, are you abandoning me and the baby? Somehow, the conversation had circled right back to where we started. I rubbed my forehead and asked him, "So where is this child?" "It's not in my stomach, is it?" "Bella's at summer camp. We're gonna pick her up together tomorrow morning." This was ridiculous. He'd even come up with summer camp. How old would this kid have to be? Wait a minute. Bella? Isn't that Lucas's niece? I looked at Lucas, speechless. Had he been single for so long that he was desperate to get married and have kids? Otherwise, how could his memory be this messed up? I need to have Dr. Owen run some more tests. Or maybe find a different doctor. Owen doesn't seem very reliable. Now that I had a clearer picture, I was at a loss. How can you remember picking up a child so clearly but not the passcode to your own front door? Lucas looked proud. I remember my honey. The anger I just suppressed came rushing back. I silently chanted to myself, "He's the boss. Don't hit him. He pays my salary. Don't hit him." After calming myself down, I changed the subject. "Well, if we have to pick up the kid tomorrow, we should get to sleep. You need your rest." After so much arguing, Lucas could see I wasn't going to budge, so he didn't press the issue. He just shot me a few more mournful looks. When he confirmed I wasn't changing my mind, he trudged back to the bedroom. He poked his head back out a second later. "Good night, honey. Kisses." Me. Thanks to Lucas's antics, I had a nightmare that I was sold off to be someone's wife in the mountains. They demanded I have 2 kids in 3 years and 3 in 5. The shock woke me up instantly. I wiped away the cold sweat and went to the bathroom to confirm that I was, in fact, male. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. But now I was wide awake. Resigned, I opened my laptop to deal with some backlogged emails. Hopefully, picking up Bella Wilson tomorrow would snap Lucas back to reality. If one uncle doesn't wake him up, a few more should do the trick. Time to shatter his dream of being an instant dad. By the time I finished sorting through the emails, it was still early. I rested my head on the desk and dozed off again. When I woke up, I found myself back in bed. Wait, if I'm in bed, where's Lucas? I bolted out of the room. As I reached the living room, the gentle aroma of porridge hit me. Hearing me, Lucas turned around. He was wearing a pink apron from God knows where, holding a spoon in one hand and a bowl in the other. "Honey, I made you porridge." His eyes were sparkling, like a large dog waiting for praise. His intense gaze made my ears burn. "I'm gonna go wash up." I fled the scene with that line. After changing, I came back out, having regained my composure. "Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Next time, let me do the cooking." Lucas's hand paused as he was serving the porridge, but he didn't reply, pretending not to hear me. We ate breakfast in silence. After we finished, I didn't give Lucas a chance to grab the bowls. I immediately shoved my laptop at him with the filtered emails, telling him to get to work. "Review these emails first. Get used to things again, see how much you remember about the projects. As for Bella's summer camp, I checked last night. Pickup isn't until 10, so we have plenty of time. My original plan was to take Lucas back to the office today, but since we had to pick up Bella, I pushed it back a day. This would give him a chance to refamiliarize himself with Wilson Corp's current projects and maybe jog his memory. Although Lucas wasn't in a great mood, he was just like yesterday. He did whatever I told him to. But no matter how I tried to persuade him, he stubbornly kept calling me honey, looking at me with those puppy dog eyes. He said it so much that my ears grew hot, my scalp tingled, and I was covered in goosebumps. My image of him as the cold, aloof CEO had completely shattered. I even had the bizarre feeling that I was the CEO and he was the assistant. When we got to the foot of the mountain where the summer camp was, I waited with Lucas at the entrance. As soon as the clock struck 10, a flood of 5- and 6-year-olds in matching uniforms poured out. It was impossible to tell who was who, but Lucas confidently scanned the crowd for a moment, then shouted in one direction, "Bella, Daddy's over here." And, to my shock, a little girl actually responded and ran toward us. A cold sweat broke out on my back. "Please don't let us have taken someone else's kid." The little girl got closer and closer. Up close, she really did resemble Lucas a bit. While I was still confused, Bella Wilson hugged Lucas's leg. "Daddy, up." What was going on? Isn't Bella his brother's daughter? He's really an instant dad now? Could it be he really does have a wife? The next second, That thought was annihilated in my brain. Because Lucas, holding Bella, said to me, "Why don't you say hello to your papa?" And then Bella obediently called out to me, "Papa." Me great. Following Lucas's instant fatherhood, I've now successfully become an instant father myself. But from his words, I realized Lucas didn't have the gender identity disorder I suspected. So the question is, why is he calling me honey when he knows I'm a man? Maybe Lucas really does have a male partner? I looked at Bella. "Bella, it's me, your Uncle Sam. Do you remember me?" Bella nodded. "I've seen pictures of you. You're Bella's papa." Damn it, this world has gone crazy. I wiped my face and gave up fighting. "Let's go home." Lucas drove on the way here, but on the way back, I quickly got into the driver's seat. "Mr. Wilson, how about I drop you and Bella off at a hotel?" Before Lucas could answer, Bella refused. "No way. I want to go home with Papa." I glanced at Lucas and caught a flash of cunning in his eyes. I'd be a fool to believe these two weren't in cahoots. Going back to my place was out of the question, so I rerouted to the company. When Lucas was going through emails this morning, I noticed he basically remembered all the company's projects. He just couldn't remember the people in charge. But that didn't stop him from working, so it was best to get him back to Wilson Corp. Maybe, just as Dr. Owen said, a couple of days at work would clear his head. The assistant team at Wilson Corp consists of 3 people. Besides me, the other 2 are women, which is why, as the executive assistant, I also ended up doing all of Lucas's personal assistant work. The moment Lucas and I walked into the office, the other 2 assistants let out a visible sigh of relief. "Good morning, Mr. Wilson." In public, Lucas still maintained his cool demeanor. He nodded and carried Bella into his office. "Sam, now that Mr. Wilson is back, is the afternoon meeting still on?" The question came from Linda, an assistant who started at the same time as me. I wasn't entirely confident, so I compromised. "Let's make it a video conference." Then we started going over the work that had piled up over the past 2 days. With Lucas's reliability in question, I had to be fully prepared. This review took over half an hour. At some point, Bella had run out of the office again. She threw her arms around my leg. "Papa, what are you doing? Can you come play with me?" I stiffly picked her up. "Bella, kids who make things up get taken away. You should call me Uncle Sam." Bella pouted, unhappy. "Doesn't Papa want Bella anymore? Are you and Daddy going to have your own baby? What on earth has Lucas been teaching this child?" I gave up trying to correct her and decided to take her back to Lucas. But as I turned, I met Linda's knowing, shipper-like grin. Linda quickly tried to hide her expression. "Sam, I didn't hear anything. Your secret is safe with me. It's not what you think." I know. You and Mr. Wilson have nothing going on, you're not involved with the Wilson family, and you're not having a baby. I really feel like the world has gotten bizarre without me noticing. Doesn't anyone find it strange that Lucas and I are together? Doesn't anyone realize that as a man, I can't have a baby? After I finished handing off work to Linda, she voluntarily took on the task of looking after Bella. The meeting started and dragged on until 8 or 9 at night. Bella had fallen asleep and was resting in the break room. Lucas was a workaholic and often slept at the office, so the break room was fully stocked with everything he'd need. He could totally live at the office until his memory came back. Realizing this, I relaxed. Things were finally starting to look up. I couldn't handle another night like last night. I put down the file I was halfway through and stood up to say goodbye to Lucas. "Mr. Wilson, get some rest. I'm heading home for the night." Lucas stood up. "Honey, I'm heading home too." His tone was so natural, as if we were an old married couple. I gritted my teeth. "Lucas Wilson, get it straight. I'm just your assistant." With that, I grabbed his hand and placed it on my chest. "I am male, masculine, a guy, a boy. Got it?" Without waiting for a reply, I turned and walked away. To my surprise, Lucas followed me. I spun around. "What now, Mr. Wilson?" There was a barely perceptible hint of hurt in Lucas's voice. "Bella is only 5, but she's still a little girl. I asked Linda to look after her for the night." I pressed my lips together and sighed softly. "Let's go home." Once we got back, Lucas showered first as usual, while I set up the couch in the living room. However, Lucas took an exceptionally long time in the shower tonight. I hope nothing's wrong. I rushed toward the bathroom, only to hear a deep, husky voice from inside. Sammy. My face turned beet red, and I tiptoed back to the living room. It's fine, we're both men, we get it. Having desires is normal. Understandable. Understandable, my ass. How could he be chanting my name while doing that? A long time passed, so long that I almost fell asleep on the couch, before Lucas finally came out. His shirt collar was half open, and water droplets dripped from his hair onto his collarbone, rolling down his toned muscles and disappearing into the faint outline of his V-line. I was jealous, so jealous. As fellow office workers who sit all day, how does Lucas have the body of a male model? He's definitely been secretly working out behind my back. I zoned out for a second, and by the time I snapped out of it, Lucas was standing right in front of me. He copied my earlier move, taking my hand and placing it on his chest. The cool moisture from his skin couldn't hide the searing heat radiating from him. Honey, let's cuddle. I bolted into the bathroom and dunked my head into the sink, splashing my face with cold water. What was happening? Did Lucas put a spell on me? I'm a guy. Touching another guy should feel gross, right? The cold water cooled my burning face, and I started to think clearly. No, I can't let this continue. I immediately booked an appointment with a psychiatrist for tomorrow. If you have a problem, see a doctor. Don't panic. By the time I slowly finished getting ready and came out, Lucas had curled up on the couch and fallen asleep. The 6-foot couch still wasn't long enough for him. His legs were bent, and he looked like he wasn't sleeping comfortably. This was probably the first time the great CEO had ever slept in such a humble spot. I covered him with a blanket and tiptoed back to the bedroom. Right before I drifted off, a thought popped into my head. Maybe it's time to get a new couch? I had a rare good night's sleep. When I woke up, Lucas had once again made breakfast. I picked up my bowl and couldn't help but comment, I'm starting to get the feeling that you're my wife. Lucas didn't object to the title at all. He sidled up to me with a grin. So, does your wife get a good morning kiss? That won't be necessary. After dropping Lucas off at the office, I took a half day off and snuck off to the psychiatrist appointment I'd made yesterday. The hospital was as crowded as ever. After a long wait, I finally saw my number called on the screen. I took a slow, deep breath, pushed open the office door, and saw a kind, elderly doctor. Come in, young man. He beckoned me to sit. I've seen many patients. Whatever problems or worries you have, feel free to tell me. Well, I have this friend, he's a guy, and his boss has recently started calling him honey. The old doctor's hand paused as he adjusted his glasses. He straightened his posture. Are you here for a consultation on workplace sexual harassment? Ahem. I choked on my breath and waved my hands frantically. No, I just wanted to ask, if you hear something enough, can you start to actually believe you're your boss's partner? Like being brainwashed? The doctor's expression was complicated. Hearing a word repeatedly can have a subconscious effect. Just like with a name, you'll instinctively respond when you hear it. But in your situation, my friend's situation, I insisted weakly. It's not me. Ha ha ha. The doctor had a knowing look on his face. You can think of it like a nickname. If it's a nickname you strongly resist and find unacceptable, hearing it over and over won't brainwash you. It will only make you dislike the nickname and the person using it more and more. So, in your friend's case, he probably doesn't object to his boss in the first place. That is to say, deep down, he doesn't resist his boss calling him, honey. The doctor spoke slowly, pausing to gauge my reaction before continuing. I argued, but we're both men and my friend is straight. Being called honey by another man is weird and unacceptable no matter how you look at it. The doctor took a leisurely sip of his tea. Since your friend feels that way, let's step back and consider another possibility. Could it be that your friend likes his boss? The words flew out of my mouth. Likes him? How is that possible? How could my friend possibly like him? The doctor calmly reassured me, being gay is perfectly normal. Even someone my age can understand. You don't need to be so nervous, young man. I know, but I opened my mouth to say something, But when I met the doctor's all-seeing eyes, the words caught in my throat. Has your friend ever liked someone of the same sex before? The doctor asked. I shook my head blankly. What about the opposite sex? I forced a smile. No, I've never really thought about it before. The doctor was silent for a moment, then suggested, well, I think your friend may need to seriously examine his relationship with his boss. My head was spinning. I asked my second question. But this friend of mine, none of his other friends, colleagues, or even a child thinks there's anything wrong with being called that. Isn't that strange? The doctor patted my shoulder. When everything seems strange, perhaps that is the truth. I looked up at the old doctor. His eyes were clear and bright, carrying a kind of soul-reading power. But his gaze just made me feel even more confused. I floated out of the hospital like a ghost and sat in my car for a long, long time, my head still in a fog. My entire self-perception was crumbling like a skyscraper in an earthquake, turning to dust. The strange things are the truth. But how could that be? My only interactions with Lucas were professional. I couldn't imagine us ever having such an intimate relationship. Besides, how do you explain Bella? The world couldn't possibly be so crazy that male pregnancy is a mature technology, could it? My chaotic thoughts tore apart and reassembled in my mind, finally settling on the image of my first meeting with Lucas. The day I interviewed at Wilson Corp. After passing the written exam for Wilson Corp, there was a first and second round of interviews. I only learned this later from Linda because I only had one interview, and the only interviewer was Lucas. He sat in the center, posture perfect, face handsome. He was so good-looking that for a moment I thought I had walked into the wrong conference room. It wasn't until the interviewer told me to begin my introduction that I came to my senses. Initially, I wasn't interviewing for an assistant position. At the end of the interview, Lucas finally spoke. Sam, I was wondering how you feel about a potential role change? For example, being moved to the CEO's office. I didn't hesitate for a second. I'll take any position as long as the pay is right. The company is my home, and the boss is my father. Lucas chuckled lightly. Perhaps the boss doesn't have a habit of being anyone's father. I quickly corrected myself. What I mean is, I will pledge my life to serve the company and the boss. Whatever the boss needs, I'll be it. I can do anything. Lucas's tone was meaningful. Good. You'd better remember what you just said. And just like that, I was hired on the spot. Later, when I found out Lucas was the CEO, I was so embarrassed I could have dug a hole in the floor. I couldn't even look him in the eye. I would slip away as soon as I finished my reports, avoiding him whenever possible. After a while, the intense overtime made me forget about the interview. I started acting more naturally around him, and he really did pay well, giving me raises left and right. This time, he'd even offered to double my salary. But before the approval came through, Lucas got into the car accident. And I went from being a perfectly good assistant to his wife unilaterally. Thinking back on it now, it feels like that conversation was more than just a simple interview. It had a deeper meaning. He couldn't have been interested in me back then, could he? And even if he was, he spent the next 3 years just working me to the bone? The clues I'd untangled were now a tangled mess again, giving me a headache. Just then, a call came in, interrupting my thoughts. It was Linda. Sam, it's bad. Bella's missing. My second time taking a day off, and something else has gone wrong. According to Linda, Bella was in Lucas's office at first, but then she came out and asked where her papa was. Linda told her I'd be back soon and to wait patiently. But a short while later, the kid was gone. She suspected Bella might have run off to find me. Have you checked the security footage? Did you confirm she left the building? Can you tell which way she went? Linda said, the cameras only show her leaving the building. Mr. Wilson is already out searching the area with a team. I calmed Linda down and opened my map app, trying to figure out where Bella might have gone. Bella didn't know where I was, so if she ran off to find me, where would she go? A little girl couldn't have gotten far on foot. If she were near the office, they would have found her by now. Where could she be? Is it possible she left the building and then came back? To test my theory, I drove straight to the office and asked to see the security footage, starting from the moment Bella left. Sure enough, half an hour after she left, she came back into the building. The receptionist was busy with a client at the time, and a small child was in her blind spot, so she wasn't seen. And right now, she was sitting in a conference room on the 10th floor. I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly called Lucas. I found Bella. She's in the building. Come on back. I thanked security and went up to the 10th floor conference room. I knocked on the door. Anyone in there? May I come in? As my voice faded, I heard the pitter-patter of small feet inside. The door opened, and Bella poked her head out. After confirming it was just me, she pulled me inside. She pouted. Papa. I picked her up. Bella, you need to tell Uncle the truth. What's going on? Why are you hiding in here by yourself? Bella hesitated, then wrapped her arms around my neck and nuzzled me affectionately. I kept a straight face. Pouting won't work. No grown-up likes a little girl who tells lies. Only then did Bella speak up. Uncle Lucas said if I want him to be my daddy, I have to call Uncle Sam my papa, and then I'll have two daddies. I knew Lucas was involved. So why do you want your uncle to be your daddy? Bella's lip jutted out. Mommy and Daddy are having a new baby. I don't like them anymore. I'm going to find myself a new daddy. I'm the only baby in the family. A new baby? Is your mom pregnant? You don't want a little brother or sister? Bella nodded firmly. No, Bella has to be the only baby. Well, she's certainly a possessive little one. This was Lucas's family matter, and I had no idea how to get involved. As I was struggling with what to do, Lucas arrived. When Bella saw him, she shrank back into my arms, which made me feel a little awkward. I'm not going back. Uncle, you promised that if I called Uncle Sam Papa, I wouldn't have to go back. I'm staying here to be your baby. Lucas's brow furrowed. Bella Wilson, that's no excuse for running off. Get down now. Bella turned her head away, her little hands tightening around my neck. She had no intention of listening to him. The standoff continued, so I tried to mediate. Bella, Uncle Sam is going to have his own baby someday too. Why don't you be a good girl and go home? You're tricking me. Two boys can't have a baby. Bella is your only baby. Bella looked at me like a little adult who saw right through my lies. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Well, Uncle Sam could have a baby with an auntie. Honey. Before I could finish, Lucas cut me off, his face dark. Honey, how could you talk about having a baby with someone else in front of Bella? I shot Lucas a frantic look. I haven't even calmed her down yet. What are you doing messing things up? Bella's grip on my neck loosened, and she puffed out her cheeks in anger. Papa can't have a baby with someone else. Bella is your only baby. Great, now the little princess is even angrier. It took a pinky promise and a solemn vow before Bella finally believed me. This job is so hard. While her attitude was softer, I called Linda to take her back to the break room to rest. The 10th floor conference room was quiet again, with just Lucas and me. I spoke before he could call me honey. Mr. Wilson, you shouldn't have used me to trick Bella. One lie just leads to 1,000 more to cover it up. Lucas cleared his throat. I wasn't trying to trick her. It's just like she said. My brother and sister-in-law promised Bella they wouldn't have a second child, that she would be their only one. But then they had an accidental pregnancy. My sister-in-law couldn't bear to terminate it and decided to have the baby. So Bella got angry and said she wanted to find new parents. My expression was complicated. So how did I get dragged into this? Lucas's gaze started to wander. Well, about that, it's basically what? Basically because I like you. Me liking you led to this result. I narrowed my eyes. When did this happen? Lucas answered instantly 3 years ago. Just as I thought, I murmured. Perhaps from the moment Lucas personally interviewed me, this was all premeditated. Suddenly, something occurred to me, and I shot a look at Lucas. Wait a minute, I seem to recall someone having amnesia. Has your memory returned? Or did you never lose it in the first place? Lucas's tone was bitter. I'm not lying about that. I really did lose my memory. Owen saw that we hadn't made any progress in 3 years, so he gave me a book a while back, saying it was a lot like our situation. I just never thought that the day after I finished reading it, I'd get in a car crash and hit my head. For a moment, I mixed up the novel with reality. By the time I came to my senses, it had already happened. So I just followed Owen's advice and decided to test your boundaries. He gave a wry smile. I'd already decided that if you were completely unable to accept my touch, I would give up on this. But, unexpectedly, everything turned out differently. Sam, you aren't rejecting me. You have feelings for me too, don't you? At the very least, you can accept men. The impact of Lucas's words left me stunned for a long time. But I frowned. How are you so sure you like me? We'd never even met before. Lucas's eyebrow arched. I'm attracted to you. That's it? I was shocked. Isn't that enough? Lucas's lips curved upward. I admit that love at first sight is based on looks. But Sam, in these 3 years, my feelings for you have grown deeper. The wind blew through the window screen, rustling the heavy curtains. Lucas's directness made my head spin. Mr. Wilson, I think we should just be friend MMPH. Lucas grabbed my chin and sealed my lips with his, giving me no chance to refuse. His forceful kiss was overwhelming, almost consuming me whole. I pressed my hands against his chest, trying to push him away. Mr. Wilson. Before I could finish, he took the opportunity to deepen the kiss. My mind went blank with a loud bang, as if something inside me had just exploded. The sensation was so foreign it made my heart pound wildly. I felt so hot I was about to melt. My thoughts froze, and my ears were ringing. After a long moment, I heard Lucas let out a soft chuckle. A chuckle, and then he said, "See, Sammy, you have feelings for men too." I don't remember how that day ended. I just remember that, in a daze, I think I agreed to give it a try with Lucas. Obviously, my trial run turned into a life sentence. I also got to see the CO novel that Owen had recommended. It was an Abiom Preg novel. I'm just thankful the memory mix-up only lasted a few days. Otherwise, I would have been in real danger. After we cleared the air, Lucas became even more brazen, openly mooching at my place. He even replaced my living room couch with one that cost more than my rent. The Wilson family finally came back from their trip, but Bella was left behind. Because the little princess still called Lucas daddy and called me papa on sight. No one could convince her otherwise. In the end, it was Mrs. Wilson who stepped in. Just let Bella be. With Lucas's situation, he's not going to have children anyway. Since you broke your promise to her, you can't blame her for wanting to find new parents. And so, every weekend Bella was home, Lucas and I were a mess of fumbling new parents. I suddenly went from being all alone to having a happy family. Of course, after a month of non-stop playing with Bella, Lucas had had enough. He packed up the child, sent her to Mrs. Wilson, and dragged me out, saying we were going on a honeymoon. Before we left, I was still filling out paperwork. Mr. Wilson, since this is a honeymoon, it counts as marriage leave. I'll need your approval. Lucas clingily leaned over. If it's marriage leave, why is my Sammy still calling me Mr. Wilson? Shouldn't you be calling me husband by now? I deadpanned as I shoved the oversized, clingy dog away. So you're not approving it? Fine, I'll just go home and play with Bella. Approved, I'll definitely approve it. Lucas swiftly signed the form, even adding a marriage bonus for good measure. I closed my laptop, expressionless, and handed off my remaining tasks to Linda. We only left after Lucas had called me honey for the umpteenth time. After all, in a relationship, one love-struck fool is more than enough.